I'd do a video today, so my kids are doing a horse riding lesson and I thought I'd just do a quick 2-minute video. So just a little bit about me. Like, I have never been a good student, and I didn't even know I was anything but bad, because I had a learning difficulty that I didn't realize until probably I was 24. And the way that happened was I went to bed at night, and Trudy would be reading, my wife, and she would read a book in like 2 or 3 days, a book that thick. And I thought, wow, if I could read that fast, I'd be so much smarter, I could be wealthier, I'd be happier, that'd just be great if I could just read that quick. And look, I had book envy. I just loved how fast Trudy could consume a book. And I fantasized that I would love to do that. Anyhow, one weekend in Melbourne when I was living there, I opened up the paper and there was an ad that said, increase your reading speed by 400% for $400 or your money back. I thought, well, 400% for $400? I'd probably pay, I'd pay $4,000 to $10,000. That was back then and I had no money, but I definitely knew that knowledge was key, and the faster I could consume it, the faster I could choose to implement it. Anyhow, I rang up, booked myself in. I was at Melbourne University, which is quite a flush place, and I went there, and it must have been like, I don't know, 30 other people. I don't know if anyone's ever been to a speed reading course, but they start off by calibrating you. So everybody sits, down, and everyone's got a book in front of them, and they grab a watch and they time you, and they ask you to read as much as they can. And at the end of that, everybody gives the facilitator the number of pages. And from that number of pages, based on the number of words on an average page, he can actually work out how many pages per minute you can read. And then from that, he asks questions on each page. And that is to understand your ability to comprehend. So previous to this test, I was always a slow reader, like unbelievably slow. But people said, oh, you're slow, James, but you take it in. I go, yeah, I do. I read slow, but I take it in. And that's what I said. Anyhow, he asks all the questions, and I know I'm failing, mates. Like I know this is not good. Anyhow, that was the first part of the meeting, and then he showed us all how to calculate our speed reading, our comprehension. And mine came out to 6 pages per hour, and it came, which was worse, 25% comprehension, which meant even though I was reading slow, I was only comprehending 25% of all content. 75% of everything I was learning, I wasn't even understanding. And so at the break, he calls me up. I know I was embarrassed, I was the lowest score. He calls me, he said, James, can I have a word with you? I said, sure. He said, mate, look, we've got to talk. And I go, well, what about? He said, look, mate, I've got to be honest with you. You've got a problem and you are not going to get better here. I go, what do you mean? He said, mate, you're suffering from dyslexia. He said, what's happening to you is, he said, your brain's very fast, very quick, but your eyes and the ability for them to receive information and process it is very different to your brain. What ends up happening with you, James, that you read so slowly through the input of your eyes, your brain says, hey buddy, I'll tell you what, you're so slow, I'm going to go for a walk over there, I'm going to go for a swim over there, I'm going to look at pretty women over there, I'm just going to do anything, and when you're finished, you give me a call and I'll come back. And I go, wow. He says, you get your money back, and he said you need to get some help. Anyway, I always knew I had a problem, but that started to confirm what it was. Anyhow, going back a little bit more, I've only got a few more minutes left, and I thought I'd just give you a bit more background around my education. I always wanted to be good, but I never was. Slow reading. I was always good at maths, but school's not all about maths. Science, geography, history, geology, geography. It all requires reading. Always felt dumb. And what happened to me was, because I wasn't smart, I would compensate by being the fool, and or the class clown, or other things that I did to compensate for this inadequacy. Anyhow, I failed every subject in year 10, like straight Fs. There wasn't one subject I passed. And when I finished year 10, I knew I was coming back to repeat year 10 because I got straight Fs. Now, fortunately, my mum and dad moved to a different town. They moved like 15 hours away. And we moved from country Victoria to the coast. We moved from a poor little farm to a penthouse of a restaurant, which my dad got management rights for, which, we'd never had that in our life. We'd always been growing up in a poor environment, definitely middle class, but lower middle class. And through primary school, there was only 9 people. My sister and I were 2 of the 9. And it was very average. Very family, very friendly, but very sheltered. Anyhow, I failed year 10. I go to Foster with mum and dad, and mum takes me to the Foster High School, and the principal says, we should take you around the school, Mrs. Beresford. Bring your son James and your daughter Victoria, and I'll show them school. So we're walking around the school, and I remember he stopped inside the physics room, because I remember that when that happened. And he looks at me, he goes, James, well, what did you study last year? What year were you in? I looked at him and I said, I studied year 10. And he looks at me and goes, well, I should introduce you to the year 11 coordinator. Well, I said, absolutely. I said, that'd be fantastic. That's how I got to year 11, and I wasn't very good in year 12. And when I went to university, my first year university, I failed. I did engineering. I didn't. Now with university, I wasn't a great student. I finished in 1986. I finished my year 12 at high school, and the grades I got wasn't good enough to go to university in New South Wales, so I applied down in Victoria, and the scores were way lower, and they let me get in. I couldn't believe it. No one that I went to school with believed I got into engineering, because that was like a doctor, lawyer, and James, you were not smart enough for that. Anyhow, I got in, and in 87, I went my first year university, fantastic, but by half time I was failing. I wasn't doing well. I had a discipline problem. I wasn't playing up because I had to pay my way through uni. I was working at nightclubs. I'd come to school at 8:30 after going to bed at 4, and this life wasn't working. Anyway, I resigned, because if I did end up failing, I wouldn't get government assistance to get through uni for the next 2 years. So in 87, I withdraw, I go to Europe 6 months, I come back, in 88, I go back to first year. I go into first year, and I faculty pass. In 89, it's first year, second year, I go there and I fail. The following year, which is 87, 88, 89, 90, I go back for my second year of second year, and I don't pass again, but I get this thing called the faculty pass, where you don't pass, but you're so close. The faculty says, let him cross over. Anyhow, 91, I'm in third year, first year, third year, which is really my fifth year, and I study and I fail. So about 1990, I'm thinking, geez, this is not really working. Maybe I should go work full-time and study part-time. So I do that in 91, and I fail the second time, third year. And if you fail twice at university where I went to, Swinburne, they actually kick you out. So I actually had to go to another university to continue my studies. Anyhow, 92, I do my third year, which is probably my 7th year, and I fail again. And at that stage I'm thinking, mate, this was not working. Simultaneously, someone said to me, James, I don't think you're a pure mathematician. You're much more applied mathematics, and if that be the case, then maybe you should think about going to do accounting or something like that. And look, I'd failed. I was in my 7th year, and I wasn't moving fast forward. So I did. I changed my stroke, and I went and studied commerce at James Cook University. And first time in my life I ever got high distinctions. I studied things that made sense, marketing and applied mathematics. Now I studied like I studied before. I was not a lazy student, but I just couldn't retain it, or it just didn't make sense for whatever reason. But this time I was getting high distinctions. I'd never seen scores like that before. Anyhow, and it was around that particular time, 93, that I got introduced to the AMP Society, an insurance company within Australia, and someone said that I could do good there. And that's where my career began. And but be it in primary school, be it in high school, be it at university, and if I even told you about my first 10 years in business, I was never close to successful. I failed more times, more ways than anyone. So what does that mean to you? First of all, don't be too hard judging yourself. And if you are not where you would like to be now, don't be too concerned about it. What's important, number one, is that you know what you want. Number two, what you do 9 to 5, what you do for a living, is aligned to that, what it is that you want. For me, I love to love. I love looking after people. I love protecting people. So, financial planning is and being a businessman and helping run a company, that's so aligned for me. Number 3 is work hard. They talk about work smart. Trust me, you have to work hard first, and you have to work smart. But be patient. Be patient on yourself. Be patient on your work colleagues. And I'm going to finish it there, or I could go forever. I just wanted to honour my promise to Mark to give you a bit of an insight to my story. And I'm going to leave it there and wish you all well. So you're in the company because we believe in you. You've got a great opportunity, and where you start today is not where you ended up. I started as a nothing and I've ended up something. Stephen Smallcalder started as the secretary, is now managing director. Trudy started as a secretary. Now she is a director of the company and the founder of the business, major shareholder and one of the smartest women I've ever met. Lara started as a receptionist. Harry Bron started with nothing, on nothing, right? There's many cases. Juliana, right, started receptionist. There's so many people that started somewhere that have become great people. The environment that you're in and the culture that you're in and the people, your peers around you, if these people can grow you, your future can be as great as you'd like it to be, yeah? But it's not going to come because you pray for it. It ain't going to come because you believe it'll be all okay. It's going to only be okay because you make it happen, yeah? So, and in finishing it all off, it comes down to a part of an email that Mark liked, and it said there from Stephen that money is a lagger, not a leader. You see, if you chase money, it's a bit like a rainbow, you're never going to catch it. And I think the world tests us about that philosophy. And I think for those people that do chase money, they're going to be perpetually unhappy. Just be great at what you do, love what you do, love who you do it with, love how you do it, love who you do it for, and money will find you. And that's not just with money, I think that's just with success. So just be the best you can be, and whatever that is great. So